Hey everyone, welcome back to Perfect Spiral Capital. I'm Rob Brayton, and today we're going to be talking about the 35% problem. Now, some of you may not know what that is, and chances are most people don't know what that is because it's something that they're facing all the time and they can feel, but they actually don't know that it's there. So, we're going to dig into that a little bit today. Let's find out a little bit more about this problem that's impacting nearly every average American today. To get started, let's talk about what the 35% problem actually is. The 35% problem is defined on pages 17 and 18 of Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. For the average American, 35% of every after-tax dollar is forever leaving your financial system to pay interest at a bank or finance company. I don't know about you, but that's a huge amount of my money going out to a third party that I will never see again. Now, granted, I've learned what this problem is and I've implemented solutions to be able to recoup a lot of that for myself, but that's why I'm here today. I want to help you do that same thing. But before we get there, we got to really understand the problem so that we get an idea of what we should do. Let's take a look at the average American. In Nelson's book, Nelson breaks out the average American's income into a few different segments. He looks at living expenses, he looks at housing expenses, auto expenses, and then also savings. Nelson was really generous in his descriptions in the book, and he assumed that the average American was saving around 10%. Well, unfortunately, that 10% was a little bit generous. In looking at recent figures, it's only about 6.7% of the average American saving money going to savings. And that savings isn't just cash. That's 401ks, that's IRAs, that's it. So if we take a look at that overall breakout of the average American age 25 to 34's income, we see that they're generally making or grossing about $57,000. Their post-tax income, federal taxes only, is about $50,700. Well, when we redistribute and kind of look at what this overall picture looks like, we see that there's actually 42% of the total amount of income is going to living expenses, 32% to housing, 20% to auto expenses, and as we talked about, 6.7% is going to savings. With that lower savings rate, there are higher expenses. And when we think about those higher expenses, that means we're probably paying a little bit more in interest. So one of the things that we have to be thinking about in that case, if we think about this overall problem, we actually see that it expands beyond the 35% and actually becomes more like a 37% problem. So we see that roughly about 20% of the total income for the average person is going to the principal of debt service. And that could be across their auto loans, home loans, living expenses, etc. Roughly about 36% is cash that's going towards general living expenses or principal on living expenses. 7%, which is really that 6.7%, but we're being generous here with round numbers, is going to savings, but 37% is being lost to interest. That is a huge amount of every after-tax dollar that is leaving someone's system. Is there really any surprise or any wonder why people struggle to make any financial headway? We have 7% of our total income going to savings, trying to fight a headwind of 37% in our financial life. I don't know about you, but that is a huge amount of money leaving a system that we will never really overcome if we continue to stay in that system. And I think that's why we see so many different Americans today struggling financially or having concerns about their financial future. It's not because that they aren't trying to do what they can with their money. It's in reality that they're facing this huge headwind that they're really having a hard time to overcome. Well, that's what we're trying to do here today. We want to educate you and help you to understand a problem that you might be facing in your own life and then provide some options on how we can overcome that. But one thing to think about is that everything in our lives is financed. Whether it's paid in cash, like we just saw on the previous slide, we had 30% of our income going directly back out in cash expenses. When that cash goes out, we never see a return on that cash in the future. It's completely gone as well. So while some people out there might say paying in cash and avoiding debt is the best way to go, well, there's a cost to that, and it's the future interest that could have been earned on that money. At the same time, we also have all of that money going out in interest, so there's all those finance charges that are leaving our system as well. If a person was able to just read Nelson's book and understand more about creating their own banking system, a lot like what we teach here at Perfect Spiral Capital, it would allow a person to not only recapture some of that interest, but it would also allow you to redirect some of those cash funds into a system that's going to constantly earn interest on those dollars, not just now, but forever. That being said, one of the things we want to look at is what if we could take that interest and we could convert some of it into, instead of a headwind, but a tailwind? Well, let's look a little bit closer at that. So we can see that from age 30 to age 65, 37% of that after-tax income going to interest would be $650,000. So if we could even recoup half of that amount, that would make a massive difference for the average American. Here's a graph that shows that difference. If the average American was able to leverage the infinite banking concept and only recoup just half of the interest they're paying today, we would see that savings piece that was really small at 6.7% could jump all the way up to 25%. That's a massive difference. And that gives people hope. That gives people security. Not only that 25% could then be reinvested in some way, shape, or form to potentially grow even further. What did we learn here today? We learned that there's a silent predator out there in our finances, if you will. That 35% problem is real, and it's impacting every after-tax dollar we face. So if we want to overcome it, we have to look at what is the problem. And that's a little bit about what we're doing today. 2, we have to have a solution. 3, we have to implement a process to overcome that. And that's what we do here at Perfect Spiral Capital. We're here to help you see some of these things. But first and foremost, I highly recommend that you get this book, that you get Becoming Your Own Banker. It's going to help you see what's going on and then get in touch with us. We're going to be able to help you through this process and help you identify these snakes and dragons, as Nelson liked to call them, in your life. And let's put together a plan that allows you to overcome them. So if you found this video valuable today, feel free to like and subscribe for more content from Perfect Spiral Capital. And feel free to check us out on the website as well. We'd love to have a chat with you and help you to understand more and how we can help you learn more about taking back your financial future. Have a great day.